Good morning everyone, my name is Manoj and this is our group presentation on auditors and corporate governance.
Action.
In this presentation, we are going to discuss the following things. Number 1, to identify and explain the 8 corporate governance principles of Australian Securities Exchange. Number 2, to identify and explain the effect of corporate governance principles of ASX on risk assessment. And number 3, to provide an explanation of the effect of corporate governance principles of ASX on audit approach. Number 4, to identify the relationship that exists between corporate governance principles of Australian Securities Exchange on audit strategy. And at last, we are going to study how the corporate governance principles of ASX are associated with audit evidence. There are basically 8 major corporate governance principles which you can see on this slide. And we're going to discuss each and every principle in detail in the upcoming slides. The first principle is lay solid foundations for management and oversight. It includes supervising the thorough and careful running of the company. Apart from that, it also includes assessing the board performance and dedicating board size and structure. It also focuses on retaining and deciding the period and remuneration of Chief Executive Officer and Chief Financial Officer. Assessing the performance of Chief Executive Officer is also its another function. It also includes establishing the dividend policy of the company and its capital structure. Apart from that, it is also associated with accepting the annual goods and comparing the current results against forecasted and former periods. It also involves supporting the company's risk management plans and examining their usefulness. And at last, it also reviews the environmental, social, and ethical influence of the company. Now, second principle. The second principle is structure of board to add value. This principle involves supervising the procedure for evaluating directors and board in total. Apart from that, it also includes managing the succession of board. And it also involves in acting as a channel between board and management and support and help the CEO in communicating with the board. It also helps in producing and sustaining on efficient corporate governance system in the organization. And it also represents the opinions of the board to the shareholders.
Hi, I am Ajay Patel. I am representing Principle 3, 4, 5 and 6 on behalf of my team. Let's discuss Principle 3, act ethically, lawfully, reasonably. So this principle is saying that the board sets out codes for employees to follow in order to conduct their business fairly. Conflict of interest can exist between the board and the management or management and the shareholders as well. They provide guidelines for recognizing and supervising potential actual conflicts of interest.
Let's discuss Principle 4, safeguard integrity in corporate reporting. It mainly shows how the transparency and accounting standards are important.
Here, the board of a listed entity should, before it approves the entity's financial statement for a financial period, receive from its CEO and CFO a declaration that, in their opinion, the financial records of the entity have been properly maintained and that the financial statements comply with the appropriate accounting standards. So here, mainly the accounting standards should be maintained. Let's discuss the next principle 5, make timely and balanced disclosure. Here, a listed entity should have and disclose a written policy for complying with its continuous disclosure obligation under listing rule 3.1, and they should also release a copy of the presentation materials on the ASX market announcements platform ahead of the presentation. The next principle 6 is respect the rights of security holders. Here, entity should provide information about itself and its governance to investors via its website. So it should be very transparent. And entity should also disclose how it facilitates and encourages participation at meetings of security holders as well. A listed entity should give security holders the option to receive communication from and send communication to the entity and its security registry electronically.
Hi, my name is Simarjit Kaur and I'm going to explain the 7th and 8th principle of corporate governance. Yeah. Under the principle 7th, one has to recognize and manage the risk. In this, there is need to establish the risk and complaint committee and proactive management of risk and report on the regular basis. In the principle 8, remunerate fairly and responsible. The company shall have clear remuneration guidelines, and the remuneration company shall have a combination of non-executive to combine remuneration framework and efficacious risk management. Committee shall engage the independent remuneration consultants.
Hello, my name is Anil Karnawat. Today I am going to present impact of corporate governance on Australian Stock Exchange of ABC companies. So you can see there is the government framework where the better governance, higher transparencies, enhanced agency relationship between the stakeholders that are the mentioned over here, that government and regulators, business partners and the investors, then the employees and the community. So overall, it's how impact on total corporate governance on the ABC companies. In these slides, we have compared the corporate governance principles and its risk assessment with its audit approach. So in the risk assessment, it's a proactive assessment, and while the audit approach is more exhaustive. While the corporate governance principles on the risk assessment is separate team and committee responsible for specifically risk assessment, while in the audit approach there is a dynamic view of the whole ABC company where it's accounts for the audit.
Kaur, and I'm going to explain the impact of corporate governance principles on audit strategy and audit approach. Looking at the audit strategy, the first one is the corporate governance rules of Australian Securities Exchange also ensures that the auditors maintain their integrity. Auditor independence is ensured. The third one is reliable result of audit are developed. The next one is audit approach. In this one, the first point is ABC company will be required to report at elevated level. The second one is they allow for the collection of audit evidence that is more rigorous. And the last one is they also ensure that the missing evidence is reported. It is to be concluded that Australian Security Exchange corporate governance principles provide the company with a guideline to follow when it comes to their overall governance, integrity, control and reliability. The second one is by setting forward a set of requirements and rules, their principle governs some of the key aspects of the company including risk assessment, audit approach, audit strategy and audit evidence. The third one is these principles also play an important role in reducing the overall probability of the fraudulent behavior within the organizations. And the last one is this is done through the strengthening of the change of communication and reporting as whole. So here this is the list of referencing that we used for this assignment.